Hey, what is up internet? How are you all doing? Surprise, surprise. I know a lot of you didn't really expect this video because I didn't announce that I have been using the iPhone 15 except for maybe on Instagram. But yes, here it is, iPhone 15 in green color, and I've been using this guy for just over a week now. And while more or less my opinions on iPhones in general is still the same, iPhone 15 does come with some tricks up its sleeves, especially if you're switching from Android like me. So let's talk about it. Now before this, I was using the Galaxy S23 as most of you would know, and both of these phones have a similar footprint on the hands, but for some reason I felt the Galaxy S23 felt lighter in the hands even though the iPhone 15 is hardly 3 grams heavier. Now we also get aluminium frame just like we got on the iPhone 15 or the iPhone 13 or the iPhone 12, but thankfully the glass at the back comes with a matte finish now. Now sadly I couldn't really experience it because this is not my phone. I borrowed it from a friend who already got the tempered glass protection on the back, and I think he will get really mad at me if I attempt to remove this. Maybe I should. Shit, I didn't know I was missing out on this. But apart from this, all the other things are identical. The button layout, the mute switch is still there. The camera sensors at the back have gotten really big this time around. And of course, we get the USB Type-C port at the bottom. Now, while it's good that Apple has finally introduced USB-C to all the iPhones, the one we get on the iPhone 15 is USB 2.0. Now, no, a lot of you might not care about this, but if you do, just know that while transferring files or images from your phone to your laptop, this will not give you as good speeds as you would get from something like a Galaxy S23, which comes with USB 3.2, by the way. I'm also not a very big fan of how Apple did the colorway on the regular 15. I mean, like, this green color is still not that bad, but I would have really liked if Apple added a bit more color to the iPhone 15, just like I should add a bit more color to my life as well. Shit. What I am a big fan of is this display. Now I'm not going to jump onto the specs right away because I know most of you would already know about that. But for the first time, and it's hard for me to believe that I'm actually saying this in front of the camera, but for the first time, I didn't really feel the lack of high refresh rate on iPhone 15's display. Now I'm not sure if this has something to do with how bad Samsung does the animations, or it's just that iPhone 15 feels way more refined while using, but you will really enjoy using this display. And on top of that, symmetrical bezels, higher peak brightness, really punchy colors, and of course dynamic island really adds up to the overall experience. Or maybe I would say sort of. Now I have mixed opinions on dynamic island. I mean, like, it's good to have, but I never really felt that I can't live without it. I mean, like, the only time I found it really helpful is when I was waiting for my order from Swiggy or Zomato, or I've ordered an Uber. But then I wonder at the same time I can get the same information on my lock screen as well. So right now I would say it's fine, but it does have a lot of potential. But apart from this display along with some really nice pair of stereo speakers actually makes this one of the best media consumption phones out there. And again, I don't really say this, but the speaker output on the iPhone 15 was good enough for me to actually not use my otherwise average Bluetooth speaker at all. Alright, let's jump to my favorite part about iPhones. And no, it's not about cameras. I'll come to that in a bit as well, but software. Now I've always had a love-hate relationship with iPhones, mostly because of iOS, but despite using all the Android skins, I can still say that iOS 17 is still far more refined experience than any other Android skin, even Pixel UI for that matter. I mean, surely there is a learning curve, especially if you're switching from an Android phone, but once you're there, it's a great software experience. It's easy to use, it's functional, it gets your job done without any random crashes or reboots, and overall it's a seamless experience. I like how I have to just pick up my phone, the screen will automatically wake up, the Face ID unlocks my phone, and I'm all set to go. And before you say it, I know this feature is also there on One UI, but trust me guys, I've been using Samsung flagships for the last 3 years. It is nowhere near. Now I'm not going to talk about iOS 17 features in detail. In fact, if you want to watch that, I'll leave some really good videos in the description box below, but I do have some major complaints from iOS 17. First, notifications on iPhone 15 is still bad. It is still unorganized. Each notification has its own card for some reason, and after a point of time you just stop glancing at notifications entirely. I mean, like, the only good thing about notifications on iPhones is that you can peek into messages without triggering the read receipts. I'm not really sure if it's a good thing, but you get my point. But then the settings menu on the iPhone is not my favorite also. Again, most of you out there might not get this, but I'll give you a very small example. It was my first day of using iPhone 15. I was using the Apple keyboard, and of course the autocorrect was on, and I was looking for a setting to turn it off, but the keyboard settings can't be accessed from the keyboard itself. You have to go to the phone settings, look for keyboard, and then look for these settings to turn off the autocorrect. Why? I know most of you out there would be like, it's not a big deal, but I think it is, especially if you're switching from Android, and I think Apple can easily fix this as well. But they will not, because the percentage of people switching from Android to iPhone is still far less than the percentage of people who would actually upgrade to a new iPhone from an old iPhone. So that's how it is, I guess. But otherwise, the A16 Bionic chip is an absolute beast. It can get slightly warm, but nowhere near to what people are claiming with the iPhone 15 Pro with this new A17 Pro. And it's also easy on the battery. Again, I've always been a fan of standby times on iPhones, and iPhone 15 is no different. This is easily a full day phone, even more if you're not a heavy user. I did get about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time more than once actually, so the battery life on the iPhone 15 is actually very impressive. What we still don't get is fast charging, even though we have USB-C now, but Apple decided to limit the fast charging capabilities of iPhone 15 to about 20 watts if I'm not wrong. Now if I have to give you numbers, this phone can go from 0 to 100% in about 90 minutes, which is not bad, but which is not great for a flagship, especially in 2023. Okay, let's also talk about the cameras, because I know a lot of you have been waiting for this part of the video. And interestingly, iPhone 15 does come with a huge upgrade to the primary camera. So now it comes with the same 48 megapixels which we got in last year's iPhone 14 Pro, while the wide angle and the front camera remains the same as 12 megapixels. But what's really different? Well, the primary camera definitely is a much needed upgrade from last year. The colors are on point, but the dynamic range this time around is also on point. Now the primary camera does enhance some of the pictures, for example the sky in this one, but most often than not the pictures end up looking better than they would have otherwise. Now by default the primary camera will take 12 megapixels, but that means we still do get that extra amount of detail, which also kind of enables it to take 2x digitally zooms pictures quite well. Again, this is nowhere near a dedicated telephoto lens, but it can still come in handy every now and then. The wide angle camera is also great. Again, it does struggle a little bit with shadows, but the colors are still pretty consistent with the primary camera. And honestly, I am very impressed with the still photography of this camera system. Again, as I've said in the past, it doesn't blow your mind with some crazy zoom capabilities or pro camera features, but it is just easy to use, and 99% of the time all you have to do is just take out your phone and click the picture, and the phone does the rest for you. I also like the selfie camera. Again, it did manage to capture at least my skin tone fairly well. iPhones are usually also great when it comes to taking video calls. A couple of my friends actually did point out the noticeable improvement in the video call quality, and I have not even talked about video, which has always been iPhone's strongest point. iPhone's camera have been always way better than any other Android phone when it comes to videos. Here is a sample from the back camera. Again, you can see the HDR is pretty nice as well. I'm walking right now, so the default stabilization is not that bad at all. But my favorite feature of the video capabilities of iPhone 15 is the action mode. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you if you should buy iPhone 15 or not, because I feel iPhone 15 is a great phone for the price. But if you are switching from an Android phone, should you really pull the trigger and switch to iPhone 15 this year? Well, let me make this really simple for you. You will definitely lose out on some customizations, and you will definitely be logged into the Apple ecosystem, because once you get the iPhone 15, you will end up buying AirPods in some point of time, and of course an iPad or a MacBook and whatnot. So if you're okay with these two factors, iPhone 15 is probably the best phone out there for the price it comes in India, because I feel iPhone 15 Pro is way more inflated in India when compared to how it's priced in other countries around the world. So yes guys, this was pretty much my experience using an iPhone 15 from an Android perspective. Let me know what do you think about this video, also about the iPhone 15 in the comment section below. If you really like this video, you know what to do, and also subscribe to TQNet because I am getting my hands on the new Pixel 8 as well. I really hope they price it well in India. But stay subscribed, follow me on social media, and you know the drill, right? Keep asking, and I will see you in the next one.